Hi there, it's Kimball Sargent, your self-care coach. I'm excited to see you today, and we are already on week 9 of our class. And I wanted to talk to you about nutrition today. And one of my reasons for that is obesity is really an epidemic in our country. You know, we've known this for a long time. There's something we call diabesity now because there is so much type 2 diabetes. Well, as we look at life with this current pandemic that's going on, we know that one of the risk factors is obesity. And the U.S. has this problem. So what do we need to do? And you know, it's not even that obesity is just one of the risk factors. Let's look at the other risk factors. You know, high blood pressure, which is very related to weight, heart disease, very related to weight, and type 2 diabetes, very much weight. And I'm going to tell you this, diets don't work. And I'm not someone that's just speaking for this as a relevant topic. I was always thin, muscular, and then I had surgery 15 or 16 years ago, and I gained almost 100 pounds. And I lost down, but I was still very much overweight. And last July, I just decided that this wasn't how I wanted to live. And so I chose to drop 30 pounds, and I've kept it off. And I'm going to talk to you about one of the really important things that you can do if you want to let go of some of that weight. And that comes with protein. And protein is so very important. And if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, don't just turn off and say, oh, I don't want to hear what Kimball has to say today. She's going to tell me I have to eat meat. I'm not going to tell you you have to eat meat. I'm going to tell you have to get enough protein or you're not going to be healthy. And protein does so many things for us. And I want to start off by talking a little bit about that. Do you know that outside of water, protein is what makes up most of your weight? And that's because the protein is there in the muscles. So I'm going to give you the essential amino acids that proteins provide for us, and our bodies don't make them. There's valine, lysine, theanine, leucine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, and methylene. And our bodies don't store amino acids. So if we aren't taking them in, then we don't have these building blocks. And enzymes made of protein support all the body's cellular health. And probably if you do much reading now, you know that they talk about that cellular health is what's so important because our body's made up of the cells. But we women know that hormone balance is terribly important. And when our hormones aren't balanced, it doesn't feel good. Well, guess what? Hormones are also proteins. And so the hormone balance is dependent on the protein balance. So proteins are essential also for our brain health. And I want to tell you as a woman, this is even more important in us. And for women that are postmenopausal, that have a lot of problems with word find and some of these things, that can often come because you don't get enough protein. Proteins optimize your brain function, and they're essential for helping the nutrients in the gut get to the brain to regulate its function. So what do the proteins do in our body? They increase our body to heal. If you have surgery, you've got an injury, if you're not getting enough protein, your body can't heal. They combat illness. Hello, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You know that we want our bodies to be combating illness if something comes along. They increase mental clarity, which I've talked a little about. They increase energy and decrease the feeling of fatigue. They boost the memory and they decrease inflammation. Now I want you to think about, because you might have already had lunch. If you eat a high carbohydrate lunch, how do you usually feel? My guess is sleepy and slow. And that's because when you take in high carbohydrate, it increases the tryptophan, which makes you sleepy. You see, our brain cells communicate with one another with neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers. And the tryptophan is the one that the carbohydrates talk with. Now, when you eat a lunch that is high in protein, then what happens is tyrosine is increased. And tyrosine increases the production of dopamine, and that increases alertness. So, what kind of lunch do you want to have before you teach a class, before you take a test, before you have a conversation with someone. Now, I'm not saying that all carbohydrates are bad, because they're not. Complex carbohydrates are very good for you, and actually all vegetables are carbohydrates. So it's not like that you're never going to eat another carb. But I will tell you that keeping a diet that is high in good quality protein is very, very helpful for your mental health, and keeping the carbohydrate intake you take in, one that is the complex carbohydrates, will help you think better. And if you want to lose weight, you've got to get rid of those simple carbohydrates anyway. I will tell you that simple carbohydrates are one of the reasons that the United States has the level of obesity that it does. I've talked to you about before that if it's white, it isn't right. We're talking white sugar, we're talking white potatoes, we're talking rice, we're talking flour. Those things are going to slow you down, and they don't really provide any type of nutrition for you. Now, so when does this protein issue begin? Well, it actually begins before you were ever born. You see, expectant mothers who don't get enough protein tend to have babies who have smaller brains with less neurons. Now, there are lots of things that you can overcome, but having a smaller brain is not a good thing. So pregnant women really need to be thinking about this. And then once baby comes along, protein is really what gets that little brain developing. Now, this isn't just important for, expectant mothers and babies. You see, anybody that says they have anxiety, anybody says they have depression, anybody complains of ADHD, seizures, certain kinds of autism, well, guess what? Protein deficiencies happen in all of those. Now, I think I've mentioned that I'm an advanced practice nurse, and one of the things that became really clear to me a couple of years ago is how many of the people that were coming into me with depression, with anxiety, with ADHD just weren't getting enough depression in their diet. I ask everyone I talk to, whether they're a coaching client or they're a therapy client, I want to know about their diet. And there are many other things I want to look at, but I can tell you this: your brain will not function correctly if you don't have protein. And when you're under stress or you exercise, you even need extra protein. It's also been proven in research that when people increase protein, that it puts their bodies in a position to lose weight. Now, you want to know how much, if you wanted to use the protein to lose weight, you want to be taking in 0.73 grams per pound of body weight. So that's a lot of protein. But if you're an athlete, you need even more. You need 1 to 1.5 grams per pound of your body weight. So how does it help? Well, when you increase and you have a high protein diet, you're going to feel more full. You're more satiated. You eat, and it's not like you're looking for things. If you think about it, if you eat a meal that's really high in simple carbs, you will immediately start feeling hungry again. And that's not good, because you're already going to be sluggish and you take in more. Not good. But when you eat a meal that's high in protein and you've got good vegetables, it gets your brain going. It promotes lean muscle mass. Well, who doesn't want to have lean muscle mass? And I don't care if you're 16 or you're 66 or 76. We're looking for that. It promotes thermogenesis. So what does that mean? Gets your body burning. And when your body is warmer, the metabolism goes up, and that helps you lose. And for proper storage of body fat. Well, you might be saying, Kimball, we're talking about losing weight. I don't want to store body fat. Well, you're always wanting to have some body fat stored. That's one of the problems. The body fat we had, it used to be that there was these famines and people had trouble finding food. And so the body stored the fat so it would be there when you hit the famine. The problem is there's not a lot of famines. Now, there's concerns now what's going to happen with our grocery supply, but, we're not in a famine. So also, I really want you to think about the memory piece. And this is what I want to tell you about. I work with a lot of families that bring in their kids, and I work with a whole family coaching them about their ADHD. Well, again, this is one of those things I've learned that I've got to ask about the protein, because a lot of these kids will come in and they will have had 5 to 10 grams of protein in a whole day, if that. The brain cannot function that way. I'll talk to kids, what'd you have for breakfast? Oh, I had a Pop-Tart, and I had some cereal with milk. That's all simple carb. That's all sugar. They went off to school. They had no protein in there. The brain wasn't going to work right. What'd you have for lunch? Oh, I had a bag of Cheetos, and I carried some cookies. Again, you've had no protein. So then in the afternoon, you've got a kid who's been in school, and their brain's been working. Now, don't get me wrong. Sugars do have a place, too. Sugars can give quick energy. And for a child that doesn't have any weight issues, a little bit of that quick sugar is not so bad. But when the calories they're getting are all coming from these simple carbs, they're simply not going to be able to concentrate. And what to me is so horrific is those children are then usually sent to a nurse practitioner or psychiatrist, and they are put on medication for ADHD. And ADHD medicines can have long-term effects on the brain. So if we can avoid that, diet is a great place to start. So now we're talking about the children, but what about people as they age? Excuse me. A lot of times as people age, they're not eating as many proteins because the proteins they've been taught to eat are proteins such as meat, which require a lot of chewing, and that can be an issue. They can be more expensive. And people's diets and taste change. But people that are 60 and over really need that protein. It's another group that when I go through what they're eating, I often find out they're not getting nearly enough protein. And by increasing that protein, I've seen people that thought that they had early dementia and they did not. So again, protein is key if you want to have a good brain, if you want to lose weight, and that goes across the lifespan. Now, how do you get your protein? Well, it is true that beef and pork will be the two foods that have the highest amount per ounce. 4 ounces of beef or pork gives you 32 grams of protein. And, you don't ever want to go a day with less than 60, but 80 or more. And do the math. I gave you the equation. It's 0.73 per pound if you want to lose weight, but you can figure out where you want to be. I always try to hit 20 grams per meal and then have another snack. Now, shrimp, 4 ounces of that is 30 grams. Chicken, 4 ounces is 34 grams. Tuna, 3 ounces is 21 grams. Greek yogurt, 6 ounces, no sugar, because you don't want the sugar there, is 17 grams of protein. A cup of lentils is 18 grams. A half a cup of beans is 8 grams. A cup of milk is 8 grams. 1 egg is 6 grams. A half cup of cottage cheese is 14 grams. A half cup of almonds is 6 grams. A half cup of cashews is 5 grams. A fourth cup of walnuts is 4 grams. And a cup of avocado is 3 grams. A great way to monitor this is to use a type of app on your phone. MyFitnessPal.com is my very favorite one of these. And so start monitoring how much protein you're taking in. Now next week we're going to talk about other dietary ways to handle this. And if you're not getting enough protein, I highly recommend a protein shake. At least one a day. It could be your breakfast. Starting off with proteins are great because it will help you get a clean burn. And that's something I'd love to talk with you more about. And children like them. You can use it as your snack. I partner with the company Nikan, and we've just come out with a state-of-the-art shake that is completely organic, even the medium chain triglycerides in it. And if any of you are watching this and want a sample, I'll be happy to send you a sample. You just need to message me and give me your mailing address, and I will send it to you. Now, where can you find me? You can find me at Wellness Solutions Today on Facebook. and message me. You can go to my website, which is https wellnesssolutionstoday.com. I also have an assessment that I'm more than happy to send you that will help you figure out where you are at with your health overall, and that's at http www.wellnesssolutionsnow.com. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I want to tell you, concentrate on your protein this week. And I want you to be well in a sick world, because you know what? We can contribute to what happens to us, and our diet is a lot of that. Have a great day.